All right, welcome back to Timeout. Now we're going to talk about Pat Chambers for Penn State, head basketball coach. Uh, Against the University of Michigan, he got into it with a kid in a timeout, suspended one game. You can see he was not happy about something. AD came out today, so he talked to him that the coach was very remorse. Ended up suspending my game. So just kind of get you guys' thoughts. I'll go first and say that I don't know if he deserved a suspension. I think the higher you get up in today's world, above the shoulders, basically on a kid, is going to be an automatic suspension. But I thought it just was a shove. I thought it was a really competitive moment. I'll give Pat Chambers credit. He could have came out and said, "Hey, the kid said this and did that," and they swept it under the rug. They didn't, the player didn't throw the coach under the bus. The coach didn't throw the player under the bus. So, I'll give credit to that. But overall, I don't know if he deserved a game for it. Maybe a fine. But I just thought it was a little shove, competitive moment. You're playing against an undefeated team, number two team in the nation on the road. And for Chambers, he's battling for his job. Because his Big Ten record is just not very good. He's done pretty well at Penn State overall record, but his Big Ten record's not that good. So I have to say personally, I didn't think he deserved a game, but in today's world, there's always a camera watching. So
Yeah, I don't think he deserved the game either, but the university was like, oh, everyone, a lot of people were watching this game. It was all over Sports Center, so they kind of had to do something. It didn't have to be, the suspension, but, if they wouldn't have done something this harsh, then, people would have been on them, like, they don't care and, stuff like that. So they had to be on top of it for sure nowadays, with people on social media and everywhere on from the media. And yeah, like I think they handled it pretty well. Other than that, kind of like just like letting it, taking care of it, right away, and then just sweeping it aside. But yeah, I don't think he deserved it. But the university kind of had to do that just to show like precedence of not not letting it happen again. Because if it happens again, who knows? Maybe he'll get fired. So, but that's what and I guess they were playing a tough team, and I guess you know that's what Michigan does to you nowadays. Being an elite basketball powerhouse, and yeah, but yeah, like kind of like Zai said, it was just like heated moment. I mean, it was for the most part the game was pretty tight for the for quite a bit of the game, and a lot of emotions going during the game, and he probably didn't mean it. He just kind of let his emotions get the best of him, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. For his sake, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think today's world, there's a lot of heat on coaches, and I think all of us have coached a little bit here, in this group. So I think it's easy to say that there's a lot of eyes on you, whether it's in the stands, whether it's a camera, whether it's social media, whatever it is. I just feel like there's just so much scrutiny, and the heat of the game, the heat of the moment. It could be something where we don't even know what was said. He could have been just trying to pump his player up. There was times where, I instances in high school where, my high school coach, he'd latch on to you, he'd be like, hey, let's go, head in the game, right? Let's go get it. So I don't think you could do that anymore. And, like I was just talking to you guys before we popped this on here, can you imagine Bobby Knight in today's game coaching? I mean, he would have been out. He would have been out, not even a quarter way through his tenure. So he wouldn't be Bobby Knight that we read books about and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of scrutiny. There's a lot of eyes on coaching now. I think it has gotten a little bit softer. But as a coach, you have to realize that. You have to realize all the eyes on you. So you got to know that, hey, even though heat of the moment, heat of the game, the outcome, everything like that's on the line, you got to dial it back a notch. You got to do it all under radar, basically. So, instead of the push, maybe he could have got down the huddle, right? Had his whole team huddle around him, and then he could have got in the face and said whatever he had to say. But, yeah, like what you said, Ryan, basically anything above the waist now, a coach putting his hands on the player. you're asking for something. It's just bound to happen. I think Penn State did the right thing because I think if they didn't do that, they would have took a lot of heat for it. I mean, they would have took scrutiny. So it's tough because as a coach, I'm saying he doesn't deserve the 1-game suspension. But as a fan of college basketball, knowing what the game is today, knowing the scrutiny of coaches, I would say that Penn State did do the right thing in suspending him. And I hope this lights a fire, under Penn State's basketball team because their team right now that the Big Ten is talented, but there's a lot of those middle teams. We're seeing a couple top teams in the Big Ten, and then Penn State kind of falls in that middle category. So for their team, if they can elevate their game, with the Watkins kid and stuff, they can make a run, in the Big Ten tournament and potentially get a big into the NCAA tournament. So, but yeah, as far as what happened late again, in the Michigan game, I think Penn State did the right thing. I think tempers flared for a little bit, so you learn to move on, and that's all you can really do.
I agree. I definitely agree with a tight knit huddle, especially when you're gonna blow up, and it's way different national TV, ESPN. So, but Pat is he's been a fiery guy, very always intense on the sideline. So it's not like you saw and you're like, wow, that's surprising. But I mean, I agree. I hope that you see the Penn State players kind of rally around him. Because, like I said, now, especially now that this has happened, he's definitely on the hot seat. And things could go south really quick for him in that program. So, kind of hope the best for him because I do like the passion that he coaches with. But I agree with you, Parker, to some degree. When something like that happens, everybody's talking about you got to do something, and that's kind of where though I kind of think I would have fined him. And then just said like, hey, listen, this can't happen again. But you just don't like to see coaches get suspended for that reason, especially, conference play just started. They've already lost that game, because now if they lose again, they're behind the 8 ball. It's just, when you play at that level, you can't fall behind anybody. It's tough enough to beat the good teams, let alone try to play catch up. So,
yeah, it just goes to show you one little thing can end your whole. It could have been worse, and he could not be coaching anymore.
Right. No, I agree.
Just goes to show you. So.
Yeah. So that's gonna do it with Pat Chambers' suspension. Next up, we're gonna tell you who the problem really is in the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise right now.